Hi, I am Himadri and you are watching SQL Injection for Beginners Part 2. Before I start this tutorial, I like to tell you that please don't use any of these techniques against any live website or anywhere where you don't have legal permission. Otherwise, you will be in a great trouble and also have to face legal consequences. I also like to request you to please drop me your comments, suggestions or anything you want to share with me regarding this tutorial at brainchamp.tutor@gmail.com. So let's get started. So our objective in this tutorial, we will check out a vulnerable web application which is a PHP MySQL application and developed by me for this tutorial. You can download it from GitHub. You can check out the link on your screen and understand the application and the working principle. Then we will move to system variables of MySQL such as version, data dir, general log file, etc., from where we can fetch good information regarding the DBMS, and then we will fetch the data from the database using our SQL injection technique. So let's set our first goal. Our first goal is to understand the web application and visualize how it is working in the background, and then check out which DBMS is working in the background and if the application is vulnerable to SQL injection attack. So let's open our Kali Linux box. Now I think most of you know what is Kali Linux. Those who don't know, it's a operating system for pen testers with lots and lots of tools. You can download it from kali.org. It's also open source. So here it's our Kali Linux box. We will start our web server, that is Apache service Apache 2 start, and also our MySQL. Now all the things are running. Then we will point our browser to where the web application is. It is localhost SQLi labs. So this is our web application. It's a simple application just to practice SQLi injection techniques and all that. So this is our first example, and here it's saying that to input ID as parameter with numeric value. So let's do what it's saying. /ID equal to 1, and it's showing the login name and the password. So if we change ID equal to 2, next login name and password. Great. So it's a simple application. Just the ID is fetching the data from the database and displaying it to us. So now we have to visualize how the application is working in the background. So we are passing a variable ID through the URL, and it checks the ID in the backend with MySQL or any database it's working with, and then fetch the data to us. So let's visualize what might be the SQL query behind this. I don't know what is the exact query. We have to visualize what might be the SQL query. So I'm thinking that SQL query might be select column 1 comma column 2, and as it is displaying two columns, so I'm assuming that it is taking two columns, column 1 and column 2, from table name where ID equal to 1. So we are assuming that this is the SQL query. So our next step will be to break the SQL query and check out if we are getting an error or not. So how can we break the query? If this part is within single quote, if we put an extra single quote after 1, that will break the query. If this is the query, then it will break the query. Why it will break the query? Because we are closing the first single quote after 1, and there will remain another single quote with no ending single quote. So let's check out. 1 and a single quote. Voila, we have broken the query, and so the MySQL is giving an error. So what's the error? It is saying that here is the error. So let's copy it and paste it our text editor. So it is saying that here we have some problem, so the error occurs. So we will remove the first single quote and the second single quote, because it's from the error, not or actually what we have done. So this is the thing. So we know that there is also a limit 0, 1. So it will fetch one row from the database, or one row for, yeah, exactly, one row from the database. So as we are putting an extra single quote after 1, so our query becomes, now let's copy it and paste it here. So our query becomes like this. So MySQL gives an error because it cannot find the ending single quote for the last single quote here. So that's why it is giving an error. So how can we fix that? We can fix that by placing a hash or a pound sign or a double dash. You might be thinking, what are these? The hash is the comment. Whatever we write after hash will be commented out in MySQL, anything. And here also, after the double dash and the space, whatever we write will be commented out. So these are comment characters. But there is a catch. We cannot put hash or pound like that, like this, in the URL. And we also, after the double dash, we also have to put a space, and we cannot put a space simply in the URL, because everything in the URL should be URL encoded. So what can we do? We can do, if we want to put a pound sign, we have to put %23. This is the ASCII value of the pound sign. And for space we can put %20. This is the ASCII value for space. Or we can do it in another way, double dash and plus. Let's see this technique fix the error or not. And another thing, from the error we know that the backend is connecting with the MySQL, so we know what's the DBMS it is working with. So let's put a double dash and a plus, and let's give enter. Yeah, we have fixed the error. So we are quite sure that this is the SQL query running in the background. So we achieved our first goal. We understand the application, we visualize how it might be working in the background, and also we break the query and fix it. And we another thing I like to tell you that here, if we remove this, here we are getting an error, and from that we can know that it is a MySQL. But if we are not getting such type of error, how can we fingerprint the DBMS? There is a good tutorial on OWS ASP's website. You can check it out. This is the page where it's saying that DBMS fingerprinting. It is a good tutorial. Just go through it and you will learn a lot. So as we are dealing with MySQL, we will check out how we can detect, or how we can come to a conclusion that it is MySQL. And here it says the following comparison should be true. What that means, that this thing, this query and this URL, not the query exactly, this URL and this URL, if we put this and this in the URL, always return the same value. So let's check it out. We have seen what's the ID equal to 1 is fetching us. ID equal to 1 is fetching John and some secret. So let's copy this part and check we are getting the same result or not. So question mark ID equal to 1 and AA within single quotes equal to concat first bracket and single quote A comma within single quote A comma within single quote A. Let's check out the result. Yeah, sorry, it's giving an error. Let's, oops, sorry, we forgot to give the comment character. No, it's again giving an error. Oh, sorry, we forgot to give the comment after 1. Sorry, single quote after 1. Yeah, we are getting the same result. From that we can assume that the backend might be MySQL. So let's move on to our presentation and let's see what we have achieved. So first goal we have achieved. We now understand how the application is working. Now we know that DBMS is MySQL from DBMS fingerprinting and from the error also. And we also seen that the application is vulnerable to SQL attack. So let's move on to the system variables. MySQL maintains a lot of system variables that indicates how it is configured and lot of other informations, such as version displays the version of the MySQL server. You might be thinking what's the double @ means. The double @ at the beginning means it's a global variable. So next is base dir displays path to MySQL directory where it is installed, and then the data dir displays the path to the data directory where the data is stored in MySQL, all the databases and all that. And the log file, pen testers are really excited and always look for the log files. So the log file is at general_log_file, and you can get the path of the general log file here. Next come I think this variable is quite interesting. It's have SSL. It will display that this MySQL server supports SSL or not. If it displayed disabled, it means that this MySQL server supports SSL but currently it is disabled. You can enable, or the web admin can enable the SSL service. So let's check some of these applications or some of these system variables on MySQL shell prompt. So let's open our command prompt and log in to MySQL -u and then the username and then p and the password. The password is tool and the username is root in Kali Linux. So let's enter, and here is our MySQL prompt. So let's check version. Select @version, and here we get the version of the MySQL that is currently running in this server. And let's check out another thing such as data dir. Here we are getting the path where MySQL is storing all the data. It's root var lib and then MySQL, and under MySQL it stores all the data. And you can check out other variables through the MySQL prompt. I'm leaving it to you. And another system variable I just forgot to include in the presentation, and it's quite interesting, is the port. So what this displays, it displays 33606. This is the port number on which this MySQL server is running in this web server, or in this server. It is running on the port 3306. You can check out by running netstat typo. If you move up, you can, here it is. You can check out that 127.0.0.1, this is the local loopback IP address, and this is the port number which is listening. This local host is listening on this port 3306. The state is listening. So on this port, this server is running MySQL. So through these system variables we can get a lot of information. So here let's move on to our presentation. You can find all other system variables present in the MySQL in this following link. You can check out this link. You get a lot of informations, what the system variables are, what the details regarding the system variables and all that. And you can also check out what are the system variables in your system by running a command called show global variables at the MySQL shell. So let's check out what the command shows us. Let's move on to our MySQL shell and then run show global variables. Here it displays all the global variables that are present in the MySQL. So from here also you can check out what are the variables, what are the global variables present, and what are the values present for the global variables, for a particular global variable, and all that. Move on to our presentation. So our next goal is to find the database name the application is interacting with and the different data tables within that database. So how can we achieve this? Open our web browser. First you have to understand this part will remain the same, because by putting a single quote we are breaking the query, and by putting double dash and a plus we are fixing the query. So this part will be fixed. All the things we do will be doing in this part after single quote. we will be running our own SQL query, that is our SQL injection, and fetching data from the database. So before we move on, we have to understand how many columns this query is taking, because we don't know. We have assumed in our query that this query might be taking 2 columns. It might not be taking 2 columns, it might be taking 3 columns or 4 columns or anything. So we have to verify that how many columns it is taking. So there is a syntax in SQL, order by. Order by 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Another typo. Yeah, order by, and it's showing that unknown column 4 in order clause. From this error we know that there is less than 4 columns. Let's check out by giving 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and it's showing the result. So from this we know that there are 3 columns in the query. So it is taking another column or in the query. So it might be like this, column 3. So select column 1, column 2, column 3 from table name where id equal to any variable id which the user is providing, and that is within single quotes, and then limit 0, 1. So we are checking this because everything in the SQL query should be balanced. As we are running, let's copy this and let's understand what we will be doing. So and what we are doing. So this is the query, and we are putting an extra single quote after that, and then hyphen plus to comment out the right portion, and then we are running our own query, that is order by 1, 2, 3. So everything in SQL query should be balanced. The left portion and the right portion should be balanced. As this first portion is, we cannot change the first portion up to this. We cannot. So all the things we have to run in this part. Our query, our customized SQL query will be customized, our own SQL query where the application is not supporting or not in the application, the developer not written in the application. We are running this part. So the first part and the second part should be equally balanced. So we are checking order by, so that we get the number of columns the first query is taking. So it's we are sure that it is taking 3 columns. So let's now check out the database name. How we can do that? There is a command in SQL called union, which joins 2 select statement. Then select, we know that there are 3 columns, so we have to take 3 columns here also, and let's check out it gives an error or not. No, we are absolutely fine. The query is perfectly okay and we are getting no error. So now the question is how we can display this part here, because this part is also, we have to run our query in this part, so we have to display the results from this part here. So how we can do that? So we have to find out a technique so that this query, the result from this query can be displayed here. This can only be possible when the first part returns no value. So we should find a technique to get the first part, so that the first part don't return any value. So how can we do that? Let's put a -1 and let's see what happens. Yeah, we are getting 2 and 3. Where the 2 and 3 is coming from? This is coming from the second query which we are running. There is 2 and 3, and from that we also know that the first column is not displayed here. The query is not, the backend is not displaying the first part, only the second column and the third column is displaying here. The second column is displaying in the login name and the third column is displaying in the password field. So why we are putting -1? We can put anything after that. Suppose we can put a lot of 9 here. We are putting this so that this portion, this ID, the query would not find in the backend and not fetch any result, so that our query can run and display it here. And I am just assuming that there will be nothing with the ID -1, so we are putting -1 here. So we are getting 2 and 3. Let's verify that this 2 and 3 is coming from here. Let's put 5 and 6. Yeah, we are getting 5 and 6 here. So we can run anything in these 2 columns, second column and third column. So now let's check out what the database the application is connecting with. So there is a function called database. It will display the current database the application is connecting with. Voila! Your password, in the your password field we are getting SQL Labs. This is the database the application is connecting with in the background. So we have achieved our next goal also. Our next goal is to find the database name and the application is interacting with. So we know the database is SQL Labs. Then we have to find the different tables within the database. So how can we find out the different tables within that database? So to do that we have to run table name, all the tables which are present in the SQL Labs we have to find out. The table name from information schema dot tables, where table schema is database. We are getting the first table of the database, this user info. We will understand this query, but let's check out what are all the databases. We can give limit 0, 1. We are getting the same result. Limit 1, 1. We are getting the next table. 2, 1. We are getting the next table, and this way we have to iterate until we can display all the tables. We are not getting anything, so we know there is no table. There is three tables, 0, 1 and 2, but there is no other tables. So the tables names are users, user underscore info, and user underscore login underscore info. So let's understand let's understand what the query is. There is a table called information schema in MySQL, which is a metadata. which contains all the data of the database, the table names, the column names, and all the things. You can search on Google what is information schema, and you will get a lot of information about that. So in the information schema table, we are in the information schema database, we are connecting with the tables table and fetching the table name from there. And as we are limiting it to 0, because we can display one value at a time here, so we are limiting it to 0, 1. It will start from 0 and will fetch 1, only one value, and it will display it here. So we are where the table schema, and this part where the table schema equal to database, it means the table schema, it will fetch only that tables where the table schema is the current database. The current database, we can input it like this also, or we can, as we know the database name, we can input here directly the database name. You are getting the same result. So suppose we want to get all the results at a time without giving that input limit 0, 1 and iterating until the end. How can we do that? We can do that by a function called group concat. It will concat all the tables with a comma and display it in this field. Sorry. Now you can see all the tables are displayed at once. Now we can know that the database name is SQL Labs, and the tables that contains in the database is the user underscore info, user underscore login info, and the users. So let's move on to our presentation. So we have achieved this goal also. We now know our current database is SQL Labs, and the different tables within that database are users, user underscore info, and user underscore login. Next, we now have to know the fields within a table, for example users table. Then we will fetch the data from the table. Let's do that. Now we have to know what are the fields within the users table. We also use information schema for this in a different way. We will fetch column name from information schema. Now not the table, we will fetch it from columns table, where the table schema is same, and column name equal to users. Sorry, I might make a mistake. Where table schema, sorry, let's check out column name, yeah, from information schema. Sorry, there is a typo, not, I have missed out N. Another thing will be wrong. Let's check out group underscore concat column name from information schema dot columns, where table schema equal to SQL Labs, and column name Let's do it like this. No, I might making some mistake. Yeah, let's check if they're in a typo. Let's check out the fields in the shell. I might have done something wrong. Show fields from information schema dot columns. Table schema, table name, sorry, it will be table name, not column name, not column name, it will be table name. Sorry, it's my mistake. I apologize for that, please don't mind. It will be table name equal to users. Yeah, we are getting all the fields that are present in this table called the users. There is ID, username and the password. Now we know the fields. Now we can fetch the data from this table using the column name. So let's fetch a data from the users table. Now we don't need this. Let's remove this. From users will be okay, and from, let's remove this also. Select, let's fetch username from users limit 0,1. Yeah, we are fetching the first username from the database. Let's also fetch the username and the password. Let's do it like this: username comma password from users. Yeah, we are getting the same results as we are when we are putting as question mark ID equal to 1, but now we are getting the result through SQL injection technique. We are not running the first query, we are running our own query in this part and fetching the result from the database. So now you can fetch the data from the database through this, and we can also fetch all the data at once through our group concat function. Group concat, let's check out group concat username and group concat, then the password from the users, and let's check out what happens. Sorry, another typo. What I am doing, I don't know. A lot of typos and all that. Yeah, we are fetching all the usernames and their corresponding passwords here through our SQL injection. So now you know how we can fetch data from the database using SQL injection technique. So let's move on to our presentation. So now we know the fields in the table of users are ID, username and password, and we also fetch all the username and the password from the database. So we have seen a vulnerable web application and understand how the application is working checked out the system variables and seen how it helps us to get a lot of information. We have seen how we can use the vulnerable web application to inject SQL query and fetch different data from the database. I hope this tutorial is informative, and please don't forget to drop me a mail at brainchamp.tutor@gmail.com. Thank you.